K. Arun Kumar, and all the participants. A warm welcome to the 5 days faculty development program on current research trends in artificial intelligence and machine learning, organized by the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Gates Institute of Technology. First of all, my sincere thanks to the management and the principals for deputing the faculty to attend this faculty development program. My sincere thanks to the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Gates Institute of Technology, for coming forward to organize such an important topic and a useful one. The credit goes to Dr. P. Namrata, the coordinator of the event, because she has gathered all the information, communicated with the resource persons, with industry as well as academia, and circulated the information. As we in the faculty community need to remember one thing, that is Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We the Gurus cannot tell the false information to the student. We need to learn the things, then only we can deliver the correct contents to the student. As pointed out by the Managing Director, Shri G. Raghunath Reddy sir, nowadays the world is ruling by the artificial intelligence and the machine learning. Without these two concepts, we cannot survive in this world. We are so lucky that AICTE has introduced so many emerging courses in artificial intelligence and machine learning with respect to computer science and engineering. That is, we have an opportunity to survive in this world. Compared to other branches of engineering, we should feel lucky that we have so many opportunities. To grab the opportunities, we must be in a stage to teach the correct content to the student. Then the problem comes how to teach and how to learn the new concepts. Before 2000, we were handling only the C language, Fortran, COBOL, and that. After that, we have the object-oriented programming languages like C++, Java, which ruled the world. After that, the natural language processing, Python programming languages, J2E, these languages. Without information, we have learned all these things by attending the faculty development programs. So salute to those institutions, those who have organized the FDPs like that and shared the information. So in the same motto, the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Gates Institute of Technology came forward to organize a 5-day faculty development program on this latest burning topic. We are very much thankful to all the resource persons who came from different industries and academia to deliver the content. By using this FDP, it's not only the theoretical one, hands-on sessions are also organized by the department so that they can feel really what is going on with this artificial intelligence and all. That is the greatness of this artificial intelligence. Without wasting the much time, I am handing the session to the organizers to continue for the further processing. And my sincere thanks and congratulations to Dr. P. Namrata Madam and the head of the department, Dr. A.L. Srinivasulu sir, for organizing such an beautiful event. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and have a nice interaction with all the resource persons. If you have any doubts or if you want any clarification, don't hesitate to communicate. In this world, the only permanent thing is the change. We need to change to the latest trends. Otherwise, we will be going back. That's why we need to go with the change. I request all the participants to patiently listen to the contents, the topics that we are going to discuss, interact, exchange your information. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. A.L. Srinivasulu sir, convener of this faculty development program and head of the department Computer Science and Engineering, to address the participants.
Hello. Good morning to the respected the chief guest, Dr. Sri Shobha Bindu Madam, and our managing director, Sri Ramath Reddy sir, correspondent Madam, Padmavati Madam, and our director, Sri Srimati V. Madam, and all my faculty members and the participants from various engineering colleges. A warm welcome to this online faculty development program on current research trends in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And as you already know that the artificial intelligence and machine learning are driving our day-to-day applications here. And also a lot of research is going on in AI and machine. And the main aim of this the faculty development program is here, this will be very useful for the research scholars and as well as the MTech students and as well as the professionals from various industries and the R&D organization, and thereby they can utilize this opportunity of this faculty development program, and they can enrich their knowledge in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And as I'm being the convener of this program, let me introduce about the college here. The Gate Social Technology was established in the year 2001 in Gutti Anandapur village, and the institute functions under the aegis of Mr. P. Raghunath Reddy sir. P. Raghunath Reddy Education Trust, that was established in the year 2000. And then again, here, if we now come to our department, the department of CSC has been established in the year 2001 with an intake of 45 in the UG program, and later the intake has been increased to 60 in the year 2008. And then again, it has been increased to 90 in 2008, and as well as CSC, DS. And in the next year, we are going to plan for a new branch of cyber security is going to be introduced in our department here. And along with the year, we are going to have the PG also here, that is MTech Computer Science and Engineering, and which has been intake of about 36 years, and now the PG program. And here, in today's the 5-day faculty development program, the first day of the session will be going to taken by the retired country leader, which is an IBM academic initiative by Mr. Lawrence Mohan Raj. This is the first day of the session here. He is going to concentrate on AI in business. And on the second day of FDP, has been taken by the resource person, Mr. Sai Yashwant Murthy, and he is actually an artificial intelligence architect from Cognition Technologies, Hyderabad here, and he will be going to concentrate on about the AI and ML models here. And on the third day of faculty development program, the same resource person, Mr. Sai Yashwant Murthy, and he is going to take about the deep learning techniques and deep learning algorithms here. And on the fourth day of the session, will be taken by the resource person, Dr. Syed Ibrahim, and he is actually a professor and School of Computer Science and Engineering from VIT Chennai. And he'll be going to give us a topic on about the machine learning, deep learning approaches for network intrusion detection system, and which is of and on the fifth day, the resource person, Dr. S. Jagannatham, he is actually an executive R&D product development here, and he is an AI which is working on AI connected private limited. and he'll be going to have his discussion on about the topic of AI and what is image recognition classification technique, and as well as a convolution neural network. And on the last day, here we are going to conduct the assessment for all the participants here, which is going to have 80% of attendance is mandatory for writing the assessment here. And after taking the feedback, and we will be going to issue the certificate. And on the last day, we will be going to have the validation session here. This is about the schedule of the 5-day faculty development program here. And hope all these, the 5 days of sessions will be helpful for all the research scholars, the PG students here, and as well as the R&D organizations here, and as well as about the faculty members from different universities and colleges here. And hope we enjoy all the sessions here, and feel free to clarify your doubts in the session itself. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to Dr. P. Namrata Madam, who is actually the coordinators, and the coordinators can run the program here. And thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Sheikh Jafar Wali to introduce our resource person, Mr. Lawrence Mohanraj, sir.
Good morning to all faculty peoples. So myself Sheikh Jafar Sadak. I am here to introduce a profile about our resource person, Lawrence Mohanraj sir. Lawrence Mohanraj sir is a student and startup developer advocate. He retired as a general manager at IBM India in October 2021. Have served as a country leader for IBM Academic Initiative in India and South Asia, with a special focus on student developer communities, helping build a pool of skills and capabilities related to startups and enterprises requirement of IT industry. He is better known as advocate of cloud, cognitive, and emerging technologies in academia in recent years. While serving as academic councils and board of studies of private and state technical universities, his endeavor is to accelerate the adoption of information technologies in technical higher education, focusing on developer community and helping build a startup ecosystem on campus. Prior to his role in academia, he has served as a consulting services leader for IBM. His experience in providing products, services, solutions in information technology spans a diverse spectrum of client engagement over the past 3 decades, cutting across multiple industries, both private and government in India and overseas. A business development person at the core and a huge appetite and aptitude for technology. He is better known for accumulating the business benefits of technology to his clients earlier in cooperatives in recent years in academia. Thank you, sir, for giving this opportunity.
So thank you for accepting our invitation, Lawrence, sir. And I hope this session will be more interesting. I request now Lawrence Mohanraj, sir, to take up the session.
Thank you very much for having me over here to join you in this FDP on the very first day to talk to very learned people. listening to all of the people who have spoken before me, starting with with Mr. Reddy himself, Raghunath Reddy, this managing director, the chief guest, Dr. Shobha Bindu, the director of research at JNTU Anantapur, principal himself, Mr. Venkatesh, the HOD now, Dr. Srinivasulu. It is very. I've hardly been in a situation like this where the very top dignitaries of a particular event are so much tuned onto the topic and not reading out something, but actually talking about it so much with a level of authority and relevance, which is very rare these days. So that shows that the topic itself is absolutely, here and now. So before I even begin, I thank all of them and for giving me this opportunity. It came to me through Professor Namrata, who contacted me, and here I am with you. Let me begin by trying to play a video, a very short video clip, which will sort of set the tone to what I would be trying to do in the next hour or so. So is my screen sharing turned on, Namrata ma'am? If not, please turn it on. Yes, it is turned on. Thank you.
Every day, we think, invent, heal, laugh, explore, reason, share. Every day, we create poetry, equations, films, selfies, diagnoses, discoveries. A living record of our work, our ideas, and our aspirations. Captured in over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. But 80% of this data is invisible to today's technology. We can't see it. We can't use it. IBM Watson can.
Hello, my name is Watson.
Watson is cognitive, designed to understand, reason, and learn. And everywhere, Watson is helping schools become cognitive, hospitals become cognitive, industries, professions, culture, products, services, and companies of all kinds are becoming cognitive. And when businesses think, we can outthink. Outthink complexity, outthink competition, outthink risk, outthink disease, outthink our biggest challenges, and outthink the limits of what's possible.
Welcome to the cognitive era. I'm here to help.
So I hope you like that little introductory video, which sort of, I feel, sets the trend, sets the tone of what we're trying to do here today. So in fact, if you keenly watched and listened more than watching to the video itself, it was fundamentally talking about moving on into the thinking part of it, the cognition, which is a human trait. And now we are trying to bring that, and it is already available to us on the machine. Dr. Reddy did mention this multiple times with so many wonderful illustrations, practical illustrations, day-to-day life that he himself is living in a rather advanced level of society where these things get deployed and adoption is much faster. So what would I propose to do is to take you through a little. It's going to be a repetition of some of these points that were already mentioned, some of these cases. I'm going to try to take you through some use cases. But before I do that, let me just fundamentally give you an overview to narrow down on the topic. So the definition of AI is better not attempted, because no definition would be complete. No definition will be able to say it all. And even if it's because it's very dynamic in nature. And what AI was sometimes back and what it is today and what it will be tomorrow is a continuum. It is totally dynamic. So today I would like to just enlist about 6 or 7 aspects which will keep repeating itself in the various use cases that I'm going to share with you. So all of us are very familiar with the assistants, the voice assistants that we have even on our smartphones. And it's going on to the next level where whilst you are in a serious situation like driving a vehicle, you can actually interact and get things done. People have smart homes where you can turn on, a gadget or the other. But here in this illustration, in this photograph in front of you, you would actually see something from NASA where, it's called Simon, and it's the first free-flying AI assistant deployed out there in space. Because you would imagine that the dashboard of a car 50 years back and the dashboard of today is so different. We have all sorts of electronic and digital inputs being given to us on the screens. What would be the case of an airplane? It would be far more complex. And in what you call a space lab or in a space shuttle, it would be in an order of 100 times more. So what if an astronaut is stuck? So he or she could easily pick up information, not by running to the nearest library and checking out the books, but this little Simon comes by, floats around, and gives them this information. So from your pocket all the way up to fancy stuff like in NASA. Another aspect of AI which could contribute, and we may want to consider, is the generative aspect of this. We are all familiar with GANs, the generative, where we are able to simulate, something. If you can, I'm not sure if the URL is clear on the screen. Taking a cue from Dr. Reddy is talking about going into Google and quickly searching and checking out when you're going to die. I would like you to check out this one. This person does not exist. https://thispersondoesnotexist.com. If you go there, you will realize this photo, as much as it is so very realistic in front of us, it is completely a generated one. So this is one aspect of AI today, which has a lot of application in the way it's being adopted and impacting and enhancing our human life. Another aspect is the aspect of reinforced learning. I know I'm talking to faculty members, and you're very good at the academic definitions of, all of these, modes of ML and DL. So here is one aspect where the performance is rewarded, and actions are being taken based on various information on the environment, and that is eventually rewarded, and the system, the algorithm keeps getting reinforced with each positive reward. So that is one aspect which today is something we can't overlook when we even attempt or mention defining AI. Now, at the edge, this would mean all of our devices, like the smartphones we carry. Look at today, my son cannot, born and brought up in the city of Chennai, he just cannot go from A to B without his Google Maps. He needs it. I mean, a young man of 22 is still very much dependent in his own hometown for that. Here in this illustration is an example of how you can query Watson. And for those of us who just one out of abundant precaution who are not sure about Watson, that is the AI offering from IBM. So here you can ask Watson questions, and this is the case of I'm reading it out because it may not be very clear and legible on your screens through the Zoom frame. If I want to know if my child is today, 10 years away from or 8 years away from graduation or getting into college, what would the cost of that be? This example, however, is in dollars in a foreign context, but we could Indianize that. So here comes the question: how much will it cost to send my daughter to college? And then, can you imagine you getting something, with a fairly high level of accuracy, 80–85%, has been verified in various cases. A projection for 2030 saying that it could be anywhere from $135,000 to as much as $345,000, depending on the type, whether it is a government public university or a private university in this particular example. So this, ultimate consumption point, the end point, the edge, as it is called, the edge of the network, is an important aspect of, considering AI. Contextualization. Now, this is again an aspect which is already got a fairly large amount of traction while, applying AI to real life. in this little animation that's going on in our screens now, if you provide a small part of a room, it is able to generate the balance of the room. And so it is based on what is there. It is based on the situation, the environment, the context, and a whole lot of other aspects. Logic building. You throw, I again remember recalling Dr. Reddy mentioning Sophia. Okay, whether it was Now or Pepper, all these humanoids starting from Now, going on to Pepper and then to Sophia. The improvements are so amazing. So if you want to engage with in a conversation with them, or in the previous chart when you saw Ask Watson, when you engage with these things, you throw a bunch of words and what happens. In this example here on our screen, it just picks up and comes out that this particular company, Acme Incorporated, is based in Liverpool, making sense out of the jumble, making actionable insights, as we would see later. So that is yet another aspect. Scene building. Now, in this animation in front of you, you would actually see how a video stream of which is being processed by the system of a morning part. The system is able to actually predict what it would be like at a later part of the day when perhaps the sunlight is gone down at dark. So how would it be? To avoid, he kept talking about Tesla and his experience of how these automated cars are going on. IBM's concept car was called Ollie those days when it was first introduced. Here we have this situation where you can, this ADAS, which is today catching up in advanced societies. But then there are projections which say that by 2025, that would be a $26 billion kind of a business, which a market size which would be available. So if we keep talking of definitions, we would never be able to get into practical use cases. So what's next? When we look at what's next, I think I would like to, that again, multiple options to this question. I would like to draw your attention and place for your consideration the enterprise character of AI, because this perhaps matters more than anything else in the adoption of AI in real life situations that are happening. So enterprise, in contrast to small, it's easy to build a concept, it's easy to build something that works, a solution to fix a problem, but when you start scaling it, what happens? And that's the challenge today. For example, take security. Security for my mobile phone is fairly straightforward. In those days, not mobile phone, but our desktop PCs. For those of you who are, who know the initial days of, what they call as viruses attacking Happy Birthday Joshi, and we had antidotes one by one, and how that moved on. So security has moved along. But when you take it to the scale of enterprise, today, you can't imagine how cybersecurity is managed. Again, one of our people mentioned this in the beginning. I don't remember who, was it the HOD or the principal, but someone did mention about cybersecurity. And that is awesome, because at the core of any meaningful cybersecurity program is AI, because it's just impossible to handle it with human, and it's an interesting topic to see how that has evolved. So enterprise brings a whole set of characteristics which individually are challenges, and that's what we need to prepare our students for, to be able to start from the small, but to go right up to what is large, spanning multiple locations, geographical locations, multinational companies spread across 150, 200 countries. So what are we talking? Is it the same as having it across 5 buildings in a campus? It's not the same. So when we look at AI, we should consider it as a journey. I do agree with the managing director who mentioned that this is not a thing that is going to happen, but we are already in it. And there are already very successful implementations and applications that are happening, but the pace at which it is improving and the pace at which it is getting immersive, the pace at which it is getting to be affecting almost everything. I mean, imagine that example he gave of the brain. So today we don't know whether there may be a war going on now, and that's for sure a sad situation. But there may never be a third world war. If at all there is a war, it would be a kind of a digital war. A kind of, imagine all these digital giants, if they were to sort of go on a hands down, on a machine down. It would imagine trying to be without internet even in your own city, let alone traveling. So consider therefore this aspect, that the shift to AI, even though it is all around us and happening, it still is very much a journey, especially when you look at it from the enterprise perspective. Okay, and so IBM has a very nice approach to this, and it's prescriptive, of course, a kind of to reach in this chart in front of you. If you look to your right hand side, you would find modernization. Yes, that is aspirational. Look at all of you are being faculty members, are definitely operating your bank accounts now over your Android or iOS applications, your mobile apps. You're using it to transact with the bank. So look at what has happened in the last 10 years of this existence of these apps, how they've been changing, what was being done before, what is being done today. So that modernization is nice, it's aspirational, it's beautiful, it's what is eye candy, but there is a whole lot of work that goes in. And here is a simple ladder, as IBM would like to refer to this template, where data collection is made very simple, because there's a plethora of that out there in form, shape, size, and whatever, and in all levels of. This is a whole continual. It's maybe a ladder, but then it is a continuum of curating the data. So after the collection is made and making it accessible, after curating it to a extent, cleaning it up, then you start organizing it. Okay, to make it business ready for a function. When a business function like finance needs some information, at that point in time, data which is more ready than less ready would increase the efficiency and the effectiveness of that organization or that department of finance to function. Then comes when the various parts of an organization start analyzing the data that is made available to them, and start looking without loss of trust and transparency. This is the challenge of enterprise, that as you scale up, the trust, how much can I trust this data? That should not be compromised. And that's the first thing that can easily get compromised. So it is to move into such a level where, without loss of transparency and trust, we are able to scale it up and then complete our analysis. And today, remember your initial lectures on Hadoop. It was so easy when you had multiple databases all over the place and you would stripe them. But today they are on all different kinds of clouds. And so you have cloud type A, B, C, D, and then information's coming in from all of that. And you got to seamlessly stitch that together and then run an analytics on top of it. When all of this happens, that's when we will be able to infuse or operationalize this AI across the enterprise. This is a topic by itself, how to think enterprise. So in our prior to all of these emerging technologies like cloud analytics and IoT and all of these things happened, mobile and security, all these happened long before that. We always had our labs, right? And we had projects to do, and we had lab exercise 1, 2, 3, and all of them are rightfully the way it has evolved over time. But we need to take a look at our board of studies when we are looking at our curriculum and see whether these examples, these projects that we are doing in our labs, getting our students to look at, come out from. I remember writing a COBOL program for, doing a library management system. I mean, that's nice, but I think we've grown out of that. And so in today's context, we need to look at more relevant kind of talk. Now, here is the ocean. The entire world at our feet. Okay, you have a matrix of about 15 odd examples mentioned here of domains, starting from automotive industry to agriculture at the right hand side bottom, oil and natural gas at this end. You've got financial services, a whole gamut of them. This screen could only fit in 15. IBM has its expertise in 17, 18, or 19 of them, I think, at last count, of these verticals, of these domains, and it's increasing. So what I propose to do, and I understand we are already at 20 past 11. So Namrata ma'am, I would let you moderate and let me know at this point in time. Can I know when I'm about to start the new section of this presentation, how much time would we have, because we started a little bit behind time? Would you be able to tell me how much time we have now? I'll accordingly tailor fit my presentation. Would we have another 45 minutes to 1 hour, or is it less? Okay. I don't hear
We have time up to 12:30, sir.
12:30. That's a good hour and plus. Thank you very much. Thank you. So what I would like to do is, I don't know whether I reach the end of this deck that I have here for you, but let's start getting at it. Let's look at the banking industry and a couple of use cases in this. What is happening in the banking industry? And this is what, before the rest of the week, when you're going to sit, dear faculty members, when you're going to be sitting with the experts and taking technical deep dives into various aspects and various technologies, I am on the contrast sitting down here and trying to give you a 60,000 feet view. I would very strongly urge you to take it up. I know it's not being asked, but then it is a necessity today that you develop your and increase your knowledge and actual experience on different domains. Okay, so that would be a much better way to. I didn't understand that. So that was my voice assistant bugging me. I don't know why. All of a sudden, I like to turn that off. So, banking industry, we all are using this banking industry. Okay, we all have some experience with it or the other. So let's look at some of the things which, and check if we are familiar with some of these topics, which has nothing to do with technology. It's just a business discussion that we are having now. Look at chatbots. They are being used today for providing support. Customers need support. Earlier, they would come to the bank and talk, or they would call telephone banking, or they would have their personal, relationship managers. But basically, customers have all sorts of questions. Then you had the self-help portals coming in, and today we have the apps on our mobile devices available to us, which helps us to, customers to get most of their information out. I mean, how many of us go to a bank anymore to deposit or to withdraw money? we don't even need to go there to those situations. So the teller, I wonder what the tellers are doing today. It's a diminishing community. It's a fast disappearing community because the chatbots have taken over this. I would mention a good example, the RBS as a bank. It's an amazing kind of system that they have in place, where when you call the bank, you're actually talking to somebody which you cannot make out. A while ago, some 5-10 years ago, when interactive voice responses started catching up, be it the railways or be it a bank or be it, I don't know, any legal system, we could make out the irritating press 1 for, press 2 for, press 3 for, whereas today it is so much a human conversation that you could have. And so customers, business partners of the banks, they need help. Take an LIC agent. What would he do? When he's out there, he has nothing to do with LIC in the sense he's not a direct employee. He's an agent, but an agent needs to know various things in order to be able to talk to his customer and win some business, sign up some deals, or employees themselves sitting down inside. So in whichever area this is, a chatbot implementation is not a one-time affair. It is an ongoing thing and continuously improving. I've worked very closely with these implementation partners, implementation clients who have embraced this, and it is just amazing how and I have actually experienced it, and I'm sure you have experienced it. Now, do you realize that this is it? How many of you can put up your hands? I know if you put up, I can't see it now, and say to yourselves that, you know, these have actually found the way into our little, lab exercises that are being given. If it cannot be, if it is not there, we need to start thinking how to change it and make it more meaningful. Customer recommendations. Now, if I walk into the bank or if I contact the bank in some method, how do I know what the bank has got? Enough posters sticking on the walls and trees and dustbins around the place. Those form of advertising is gone. Today, whoever is interacting with you, the machine or a person or a client representative, they need to give you recommendations that make sense for you. If I'm a retired person and I'm walking in, and then you are an active person in service today and you're walking in, why would he talk to you about certain things which he will talk to me? There may be no common point at all. Okay, a provident fund makes more sense for a person who's working because it's a here and now and what they can do with that and how to come out. So, you know, how to invest your money, portfolio management, all of this happens thanks to customer recommendations, being an area that AI has penetrated. Fraud detection. Okay, fraud detection. There was a time when we would have banks coming up and saying that, today we have detected 22 frauds in credit cards. But today the conversation has changed. Today, you have your services team coming up and sitting in front of the branch manager and saying, sir, next week, we can expect the following 22 credit cards to be doing a financial fraud. That's, a parrot Joshium? No, it is predictive analytics, okay? Algorithmic trading when it comes to stock markets and predictions. You find the last bullet point there. Credit risk management. Something that affects all of us. How many times have you been turned down when you applied for a credit card and because of some silly mistake that you did not pay a 300 rupees mobile phone, your CIBIL ratings were affected? And so how does all that come together? How do we make that happen? ATMs. Look at the first ATMs that you utilize and the ATMs that you utilize today. Forget the hardware part of it. But look at the amount of engagement that happens. All of this. Now, my take on this would be that this is an easy example because we are living with this on a day-to-day basis. As we move forward in the other use cases, categories, I would recommend strongly that you take a personal target for yourselves. And sorry to be very prescriptive here, but I've spent my last 12 years only being with faculty members and students that jokingly, they call me a farewell Professor Lawrence when they were giving me my farewell at IBM. So I'm sounding like a professor to you, saying, please make it a point that in the next, how many months we have, in the next 12 minus 2, 9 months that we have starting from this month, if by December you can stand up and speak at any point in time about a particular industry with a certain level of authority. Or imagine that you're in a flight with the managing director of a car manufacturer, MD, okay, big guy. And can you even have a conversation with him on his domain? If you can do that, then you're going to make a big impact on your student's life. Okay, contextual chatbots, you provide certain information, and then it's going to come back to you with very, very appropriate. And that's why when they start talking, they gather a few critical pieces of information at the beginning part of a conversation, be it textual or be it through a voice recognition interface. It does not matter, but eventually these chatbots are highly contextual, and we discussed earlier where that comes from. Now, this is the kind of screens that you folks love, because it sort of tells you. On the left-hand side is a user experience of basically doing not a telephone banking, but a WhatsApp kind of a banking or a chatbot based one, where you are actually asking for a payment to be authorizing a payment to be made, because the bank proactively is talking to you and saying, look, today's the last day. And then you anything else to do? Yes, I want to issue a check to so-and-so. And then that's happening there on the left-hand side. So all of this is a reality today, may not be to the extent that it is out there in the West, because we are catching up, and there will soon be a kind of a parity, I would say, when it comes to certain industries. Already the medical industry, the financial industry has reached certain levels of parity with the West. It's just the same. This example again was mentioned by the MD. So whether I grow a beard or whether I mask myself partially, the systems are able to detect you and authorize you, for instance, at an ATM. Now, here you would find, I've basically taken these charts because there is these charts from an IBM perspective, because there are a whole lot of solutions that IBM can provide in each of these cases, and therefore that's what you will find in the solution column down below, which we will completely ignore at this point in time. It's just my objective is to present to you various use cases under a given category. Okay, so let me go to demand forecasting. This is something that impacts us on a day-to-day life. Have you had the situations where an elder in the family turns around and tells you, or you yourself tell your son or your nephew, to quickly, tomorrow is a festival day, so you better go one day before and withdraw cash and keep it for this kind of expenses. So how does that happen? Because we know by practice, in the last so many festival seasons, on the day of the festival, if you really want to go and give some gifts to somebody, and you don't give gifts in Google Pays, but you give gifts in cash, right? So when somebody takes your blessing, so well, I'm just being humorous about it, but the fact is I need cash, and on a particular day I don't get that cash. So that surge, so the system is not able to do it. So how can a bank basically forecast a demand for cash in a very particular area? The same bank on the same festival, in this example, may not need much of cash in ATM A in zone A of the city in a particular street. But in another area, which is, let's say it's Christmas time or New Year's time, and this particular street or this particular road has got all fancy, what do you call, entertainment outlets. So what would happen on the eve of New Year's? It would just go bust, and you may even have a breakout of violence. So that is rather simple, straightforward, but in a much more deeper manner basis, that the patterns of usage and withdrawals in the past, systems today are able to actually go down and see which denomination would be in demand. And so to stock up for that, and to be able to do this well in advance, to allow for the physical logistics to take place, so that ultimately the customer experience remains where it is. And the objective of any technology, including this AI, is to create that customer experience which directly transforms into business, which directly transforms into if I give a better customer experience than another competitor of mine, I get more business. If it's the other way around, then I lose business to them. That's as simple as that. Now let's move on to the insurance industry. Now, if you look at insurance industry again, there was this example of when will I die? And to be very honest, I quickly Googled that on my smartphone, and I was quite surprised to find this, which I did not know before. So there you go. We constantly get surprises, and we keep learning every minute of the day. And so here is an insurance example. The insurance use cases that I'd like to take you through. So in the old world, what was the way insurance was done? And in the new world, how is it being done? Okay, so data science, AI has kicked in. And this is even in a real-time way. For example, it actually happened to me when I lived overseas, that in India, we are so used to this fact, that if I paid 10,000 rupees last year for my premium insurance for a vehicle, this year, I'm going to most probably pay 10,000 or a little less. We expect a little less if I play with the IDV, the insurer declared value. Okay, so instead of that, in this country, the value was actually going up. And when I asked and I argued, they had actually, it was one of those high-end cars, nothing to do with the internet and connected world. It was just a microprocessor on board. So when you remove the ignition key and go in for a servicing, you put it in there into a particular receptacle, a socket, and which mimics the one like on your car dashboard. And that takes all the information. You don't have to go and tell what's wrong. The machine understands. So from that, they detected that my usage of the clutch is very wrong. And it is the wear and tear on the clutch is very high. So that was, you look at other people when you're driving down in the nighttime. Whole time, it's not just the tail lights that are burning, but bright tail lights are burning, because this guy in the driver's seat has got his leg constantly touching the brake pedal. It's not just about burning out a lamp or the brake lights, but it's about the wear and tear there. So naturally, what should last you longer will last you less. In this example, I gave you the clutch and the brake, and in the vehicle insurance instance, that finally smarter insurance companies who have this kind of inputs would be able to factor that in and allow for a claim that I could make tomorrow, not just accident-related claim, but let's say a wear and tear kind of a situation. They'll say, no, you need to pay a slightly higher premium if you want this comprehensive, cover for the entire machine, so on and so forth. And so all of this is a direct implementation of what's happening in the real world, sensors, your IoT discussions, and how that picks up data, how that is sampled, how that is taken and infused into a larger system. Now, let's look at common use cases, in the insurance case. So you have internal agents inquiries. I mentioned earlier about, let's say, LIC, one of the best examples, because common man as a part-time picks up this job and starts doing, and today we know that they come around with their own mobile phones or tabs to signing up a new document is such an easy thing. If you have the following documents, your Aadhaar card, this, that, and the other, whatever they mention, they take click. It's all done in a couple of clicks and a few taps and a couple of question and answers. All of that is happening because you have assistive technologies at play there for the agents in this, the internal agents, right? Now, driver performance monitoring, this is the example I was mentioning a little earlier, and the market analytics of insurance. Okay, so how you would interpret the driver data in the general trend and identify business opportunities. So there are, I could give you a number of these examples, but time would not allow us to go into too many, because I'm still in my second part and we have 10 such categories to be covered. So just try to read up subsequently a lot on how insurance companies conduct their business. Don't bother about how AI is going to be implemented. What are the basics of the insurance industry? I think if that happens, that would be my purpose in this talk would be more than fulfilled. Now, look at our young fellow here. He's a very distracted driver. He's doing a number of things whilst he's driving what looks to me like a Toyota, if I can see the symbol on his steering wheel. He's on the phone, he's drinking coffee, he's taking his eyes off the road, he's putting it down by the side, he's talking to the person on the side. All of these things are happening. So distractions. So how do you monitor this, and how do you even detect such things? And how do you bring that into insurance policies? Right. So this is something which I wish we can actually give you demos of this, and if we organize this in future, I could get help from our SMEs and IBM from the software labs to actually give you demos on these kind of things. Look at the price optimization, which is something that I mentioned earlier. Data points say a lot in this. About 10% of a particular insurance company's customers cause a car accident every year. So most of them are small accidents, right? But the payouts can be extremely, damaging to the bottom line. And the less you pay out, the more. So how do you do that? By refusing in an unreasonable manner? No, it's by fine-tuning, by tweaking up and understanding what is happening, and thereby we're able to, the age of the car. Today, I just renewed my insurance a fortnight ago, and they didn't even consider much the age of the car. They just took the previous one, they took that, and then they said, you want the same features, and boom, it came out. But that situation is going to change dramatically. You and your son may have the same vehicle, but it may so happen that you, being a more mature person, you would get, and bought on the same day, other things being equal, you would end up paying a far less insurance premium than your son. That day will come, and when you smile, you'll realize that what's happening. Okay, we'll skip this part of it. It is basically for the surveyors, when they can go and reduce the time, because today how often how long can we afford to leave a car in the garage, even if it is met with an accident and needs a couple of repairs? We know that in the current situation in our country, surveyors take their own time, and then for them to come back from the day you leave the car there, for them to come back and say and give you an estimate, that itself will take you anywhere from 24 to 42, 48, if not 72 hours. But that is being reduced in other methods today. Here is a case of a visual recognition kicking in and helping to assist not replace, to assist the surveyor because these images can already be taken by the garage and sent to the surveyor, who comes already with a whole lot of ideas and with a whole lot of informations and conclusions and a quick spot verification, and then the window of time taken will be far reduced and far more accurate. Okay, so when we're looking at this driver assistance, okay, this changes a lot. So if I have a car with driver assistance enabled, that may be an incentive to the insurance company will immediately think of charging me just a little. They will have a different pricing policy there for me because I have that vehicle. But how many vehicles have that today? How quickly will we shift? How quickly are automotive companies shifting? We heard our MD mentioning about Tesla. IBM does a lot of work as well with other brands. We've done some enormous work with BMW. If you were to visit our IoT Center of Excellence, we call it not IoT, IBM calls it as GOT, the genius of things, in Germany. There they've come up with some amazing work done with the BMWs, which already are at the peak of user and driver experience. Okay, risk management in damage insurance. I'll just skip over this topic because it's heavily textual there. But all of what we said there, to retain today, what happens when the time comes for you to renew your insurance, be it health insurance, be it vehicle insurance, be it any other insurance you've taken, around the time of 11 months, 1 month prior to its renewal date, you get a host of people. You wonder how it all happens, but it all happens. Magic happens in our country. So there'll be a barrage of people competing with each other, trying to give you. And what do they play with? They just play with the costing. Whereas when you look at a more sensible way of doing, if AI is adopted by these insurance companies, there will be that personalization. When we are talking about personalized medication today, why not personalized insurance and personalized everything else? Okay, so let's move on to retail. We have another 3/4 of an hour. Retail is a very interesting, again, an area that all of us are very familiar with. And those of us who've been shopping for the last 2 decades and odd, or 3 decades, we know how it used to be sometimes back and how it is today. Okay, how visually you can understand from what is happening in a particular large format supermarkets, which is slowly becoming the order of the day today. It's from a situation where a group of workers can visibly inspect a shelf and then look at replenishing the stock on the shelf, or until a customer comes and says, what happened? I want this. I want a packet of 10s pack of this particular mask, and it's not there. Then they come and check. No, so you're looking at the wrong place. Come here. And when they go to that place, they realize that even there it is not in stock. Now, these kind of sad stories today, people are very impatient. They don't want to. Don't forget, it's an era of 2 minutes Maggi noodles and 2 minutes Nescafe coffee paste stuff. So people are just parking their car, darting in, darting out, grabbing a few groceries, and at that point in time, how can you do various things, like reducing time at the checkout? Okay, what we've learned, tagging and all of these things, NFCs, which were done before, but the cost of it has not yet come to the level where we can implement it. In India, though, a few implementations are there. But the footfalls, analyzing the footfalls over a period of time and infusing this into the AI system to know that, tomorrow, being a Friday, which is before a festival, we are going to see enormous amount of a surge in the in the number of footfalls. So what should I stock up beforehand? What should I keep? Okay, now e-commerce platform compliances, there are a whole, this comes to a league bordering on the legal side of things, the various compliance standards which are there, how these can be integrated into the products and accordingly stocked. Okay, warehouse optimizations. This may not be still a problem, excepting in large formats like our big bazaars of the world and so on, which are now catching up in India. But in any typical overseas environment, the retail or the $1 market, as they call it, or the flea market, as they would call it, which is equal to our Sunday, as they say in Tamil. I don't know what's the Telugu word or the Hindi word for the market, the traditional village markets, compared to that and compared to what we are seeing here today. You will be having the stock, but no manual system can actually be able to understand and bring something on time. Especially take operations like Amazon today. The picking up from a particular rack, and that in the rack there are top shelves, there are bottom shelves, there are intermediary shelves. So how do you optimize the route of, even if you're using a mechanized method, be it robotic or not robotic is only a matter of detail, but assume that even if it is mechanical and you've got a driver sitting and an operator trying to go there and pick up, on his screen he's got certain things that will optimize where he has to go, how he has to come, in order to be able to, when you hit the button and said, I'm ordering this, for them to say that this will be delivered tomorrow by 9 a.m. or tomorrow by 9 p.m. behind that is a whole lot of things. So warehouse operations, again, at the risk of sounding boring, is this something that we knew? Or if I were to, as a faculty member, for once leave my PhD aside and go and look at how warehouses are operated, what is the science behind it, what is the operational logistical issues about it, then in your wonderful teaching mind, you will connect the two and be able to think up of so many situations which already your students are beginning to do when they are thrown into a hackathon situation. So we need to challenge ourselves by beginning with domain expertise, building up domain expertise. Now, again, in the supply chain. So today, it's quite often that you find almost 40% of the vegetables and the farming produce that you find in the upper, supermarkets and the hypermarkets that you visit. 40% of it is not even from India, right? So take dragon fruit. Dragon fruit is now being grown here, but dragon fruits do come. We still get apples, as if our Shimla apples are not enough. We still do get Washington apples, right? So how is all of this managed? Those days it was done in a very, very old man fashion, where they knew it'll take so long and this and that in the containers. Today it is instantaneous. How we could actually use drones and IoTs and sensors and be able to understand and interface this with the weather company. What is the weather pattern, not today, but tomorrow? So supposing I want to have a great Diwali, and I'm expecting a huge, sale of all these things, let's say where fruits and vegetables. How would I plan for that? These particular vegetables, when do I need to order it? From where do I need to order it? What does my past record say? How many customer rejects and returns came in, and for what reason? To be able to track it back in the system, and next time to be able to avoid that. Or if somebody is a connoisseur of wines, this picture is is certainly not a vineyard, but then if it's a vineyard, there are people who say, I want this particular brand of wine with this particular flavor. So where do we get it from? So if you simply go to Amazon and order it there, you're just going to get something which is somewhere. But there are personalized ways in which you can actually get, this is for the connoisseur. Yes, sir, why are you talking about things which affects 10% of the population? Yes, but if you understand what happens there, then ideas will open up, and we could see what happens in ordinary potatoes and tomatoes as well, rather than just these exotic grapes which end up being in wine bottles. Okay, demand sensing and forecasting. So again, continuing from the previous chart, it is so very important. Now, people in the West, and it's also beginning to happen here, on the way back from work, how many of us are actually in the traditional systems, going and picking up various things which our spouses have told us to do in the morning, or they sent you in a WhatsApp during the day, a shopping list. So that shopping that you're going to do is going to be at a certain time of the day. So at that point, there's no point in your stocks coming in 1 hour later. The stocks, you need to be able to predict that there is going to be a surge on a Friday evening for a normal weekend, no festival weekend, normal weekend. There's going to be a lot of sales happening between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, because that's when people on the way home, because today we live and work so much apart, and talk about Bangalore, moving from one part of the city to the other to get into the airport from the heart of the city would take you almost like 3 times the flight timing, so in that sort of a situation, picking it up, your favorite stuff from that particular favorite mall, all of that has to happen. It cannot happen if the demand is not even understood by the provider and forecasted, and the logistical and the purchase system kicks into place to be able to put a smile on your face and my face when we go there. Safety and security. This is going to be one very important thing. We all talk about real life problem solving. We use these words so often, and our training and placement officers keep talking about this and say, oh, we train our children in real life problem solving. All that is nice, but in a real situation, problems that matter to the world, Real life problem solving, fine. Real life problems, comma, that matter to the world. I think that's where I would draw your attention. And for this particular nuance and perspective, safety and security use cases will explain to us. Now, here is an illustration of what happens in a typical scanning situation. Whether you're entering, about to embark on in the airport on a flight journey, or whether you're checking into a hotel, what happened after 26/11? Not 9/11, after 26/11, our Bombay stuff, immediately all the five-star hotels started erecting, barricades and all sorts of, way of checking. Even customers who are coming, guests who are coming to stay with them, or casual people who are visiting the premises for restaurant, evening in the restaurant or at the bar, whatever, the gym or whatever. So their personal effects. How do we? Is it the traditional method? Is it enough? How many of us have got frustrated on a Monday morning when the air traffic is at its peak, when people are trying to fly into their destinations? The physical security actually becomes a big bottleneck, and none of these airports were built keeping 20 lanes for security in mind. First of all, we don't have that many CRPF people to in each of these airports to go and man it. But look at Bangalore International, look at Bombay International, look at Delhi T1, T3, and all of these things. How wonderfully we are adapting to it. Without AI today, with the infusion of AI, and instead of just what if the guy who is the security officer who is actually manually visually comparing the images on the screen with his experience, what if he has a severe headache at one point in time, a migraine at that one point in time when he closes his eye and then he just says pass? That could be that 1 in 1,000 passengers who's got a bomb in his thing. So what happens there? Are there many other ways? Yes, we got police dogs, we got sniffer dogs. All those non-AI things have already been perfected and are continuing to be perfected. Now, when AI comes along, it enhances the security inspections much more. And therefore, what do we have? We have a peace of mind and a good travel experience. Automatic handgun detection in videos, okay, using AI. How is this being done? You have a very short window of time to be able to look at a splice and to be able to identify it. And sometimes, it may be an innocent case of somebody just having a toy gun. So how do you recognize that from the X-rays will all show it as same. So how do you distinguish? Is there some uneasy action that this particular this passenger has been whilst waiting? Those uneasy actions have been detected. By the way, our customs officers used to do that before. Unknown to us, even 10 years back, there were cameras at the point of disembarkment, and then a bunch of customs officials are watching. So that is all now only up to a point. Beyond that, AI has come because the traffic loads are so huge that they are prone to fatigue, apart from other things that affect their judgment. You know what I'm saying? But today, AI is non-foolable. You can choose to veto the AI component and override that and allow a gun to go through, but then it will the level of accuracy is far more, and it's a much more enhanced experience. So personal protective equipment. So today when you're having large factories, which employ, or let's say a port, typical seaport. In an airport, it may not be that much, but in a seaport, typically in the order of 10 or 10, or manufacturing things like huge BHEL sites and all that. No matter how much sad things have happened to people, they still are careless. So how do you detect? How do you proactively go to somebody? Today, because thanks to the pandemic, when you walk into a supermarket, they look at you not wearing, initially they said you're not allowed without a mask. Today, they don't want to lose you. So they give you a 10 rupees mask and say you wear this and then go inside. Now, that is a simple security guy who gets paid like 4,000 rupees a month. But here is an AI engine that kicks in with its VR capabilities. And the AI vision that you see on your screen is basically the product from IBM. So what that would do is to be able to come up and alert a certain set of personnel who can go there and be able to save some precious lives, and insurance costs thereafter, which could happen. Okay, which is all a loss to the company's business. Okay, using drones, right? Detect and classify drones in restricted areas. So how do we distinguish between a simple, simple innocent child playing with an innocent toy vis-a-vis a very malicious one, which is possibly doing a whole lot of things? So, and today it may not be the case in India because we have some very prohibitive laws to that effect. And so it's not that easy to take our drones off. But there are marriages being conducted with a whole lot of cameras mounted on drones, from simple situations like that to showering, confetti, to a whole host of things which are happening. But one of them could be the rogue, drone. And how do we, especially around areas. Now, those of you who live in Bangalore and you pass by from town to Whitefield, you will go through HAL, and there they use jammers just to jam your GSM signals or your CDMA signals. Now, akin to that and 10 times more, beautifully done is the situation with drones, which is today so much of a reality. People counting. Okay, for high density crowds, like you take the Kumbh Melas that we have experienced, that we very much understand in our country here, or in the site of a disaster, what could be done? What predictive thing? Where is the crowd moving to? Let's say if it's a New Year's Eve, and for those of you who are familiar with Chennai or are from Chennai, you should just go to the beach side and look at that Marine Drive. My God, is that humanity? It's an ocean of humanity there. So what happens there? How can the police? No police force can manage that. So can we reduce the impact? Yes, provided we have these systems in place. And a lot of these things have been done by the various police departments, and IBM has worked with them in the case of natural disasters, no? And how to monitor crowd movement. The Chinese have gone to the other extreme, where they can, you go and report a lost child, they can detect the child and tell you where it is, and the nearest police will be there. In 5 minutes or 10 minutes, they have already secured, taken custody of your child, and you can physically go up to the police station and then sign the documents and take your lost child. Now that would be the other extreme, but which will eventually percolate to our towns and our cities and our life. Sound classification. Oh my God, the amount of pollution. We don't even seem to understand sound pollution, the way it can impact our health, our mental health. I still remember I was sensitive to this. I got sensitive to this when I was hosting a business partner who had come down from an overseas environment. After spending almost a fortnight here in Chennai, this guy turns around and says, I'm going to give a gift to this driver, because the same driver took him for the 2 weeks that he was in town. And I said, what? And this guy says, take me to that place where you said they have automobile spares. And this guy went and bought this nice big horn and gave it to him. And it cost something like almost, I remember many years ago, it was about more than 10,000 rupees, a horn. Okay, and he gave it to him just to impress upon him, saying, look, don't go bang, 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 bang like that. Please cut that down. It's going to be so injurious to you, and you're getting nothing out of it. Nobody's going to move out of your way. Okay, and we know, all of us who have lived abroad, we know that using the toot, they don't call it a horn for starters, they call it a toot. But a toot is used only for life-saving situations and not otherwise. Otherwise, it is considered as a very bad manners, right? So here, what is happening in security systems in this particular place, air conditioning, car horn sounds, the children playing, dog barking, these can have different signatures, and that can be easily deciphered, understood by the security systems, and alerts to parents can be given. In Bombay or somewhere, they actually tried this. When people started tooting their horns too much, the police just said in their displays that keep tooting more, we'll increase the red light time. So they had to wait, and then people understood what was happening, and that exercise actually became fruitful. And then when people stopped honking, So, there are a dime a dozen ways in which today we can actually process these sound and classify them and take action basis on that. Okay, I wish though this happens also for headlights, and the police would be able to go after a guy who's, with his, as if he's going to do satellite launching, with his beams so much into the high beam that, nobody else can drive either in the opposite direction or the guy in front of you, because it's reflecting off his rear view mirrors and making it difficult for him. Airport operations, the safety for those of us who are familiar with this, we know the amount in order for us to have that 45 minutes hop flight from, let's say, a Chennai to Bangalore, or a 55 minutes flight from a Bangalore to a Hyderabad. We do understand, the amount of security and operations that needs to go in before we are flagged off, and this is visible when as soon as you land, what happens. There's a whole lot of, baggage things happen, but for these operations to be optimized, and reduce the time, so that, like you get down from your car at home and then you step into your house in 2, 3, 4 steps. The day will come when, we could get almost to that point in time as far as an aircraft is concerned. But there are very amazing ways in which this has been done, and that's where design thinking comes. And I've seen people being paid fancy amounts of money for coming and giving a simple suggestion, so that at the point of the gate, they install a machine, which was not done before, and that was running on electricity. Instead, they had a battery backup. A simple suggestion like that would earn them so much of money, because now suddenly the waiting time there has improved, and so the flight could actually depart on time, because there was no snags or outages of systems, or failure of power at the gate where they do the swiping. So these and many other ways there in the in handling each of these real life situations. Now, medical imaging, again, this was mentioned by the MD in his keynote address. I have personally worked in this, and for those of you who have not, you should go and take a look at actually what happens. Watson, IBM's AI offering, was implemented in a hospital, Manipal hospitals, and they have actually you would find there that amongst the oncologists, you'll find Dr. So and so, Dr. Mrs. So and so, Dr. So and so, and then all Indian names, and suddenly one foreign name, that Dr. Watson. And so what is it? So we all, if it's a loud one, what do? We devastated with the bad news, let's say stage 2 cancer or stage 3 cancer diagnosed for one of our loved ones. We immediately take that sample. I have done it, and run to 2 other places and have a second opinion and third opinion. Look, if we are medically complete, and if we are digitally on that, if our health records, electronic records are in place in the medical system and personally, they can actually come out. And actually, when Sir mentioned about when will I die, you ask this question to Google, and Google is able to answer it. It's not about when will I die in a road accident. It's actually about when will I die. Its direct application is in the hospital. Okay, so that is a Google answer. Basis all of those inputs, they can say that this person is going to die has a 40% chance of not making it through this treatment. Okay, whereas somebody else comes to this experience and says no problem, but then 2 days later the patient died, and then they said, oh, we did our best. And one shrug of the shoulders, we did our best. Tell me who in this audience is not affected by this kind of stories? So here, radiologists looking at MRIs, looking at how many images can you process. We're not doing it in the US. They're not able to do it. They send it across to us in India. And how many companies exist here, and they're doing telemedicine, and all of that is a reality. But at the core of it today is AI moving in very fast, not just to digitize the whole thing, but to be able to detect that pattern and go into far more details. There is this, be it any of these situations, which in a particular geography, it may be more or it may be less, but to be able to, if the whole inputs are in place, to be able to predict cancer is more important than to actually confirm the malignancy. Okay, so like when you finish a maternity and you're being discharged, if the amount of data that would have been collected from that mother and that infant that was born subsequently in this maternity, in this childbirth situation, what would happen? All of the data is not being stored. Most of it is going out. When they run a simple ECG, how much of the ECG comes to you? Whatever the nurse or the operator decides, they will cut that piece of paper and then they will stick it into a folder and give it to you. But most of it is already gone. Today, more and more electronic real-time systems, especially in ICUs, we see this. But if all of that data, streaming data, were to be processed for that particular mother and that infant, what, hypothetically, if when they leave, they are called in for the last counseling, the parents of the child, especially the mother with the infant, and maybe an attender, an helper, or an elder, to say, listen, congratulations, it's been wonderful, but we have picked up certain things with 80% confidence levels, probability factor of 80%, probability factor of X percentage. That percentage does not matter. But the fact that they could arrive at something and say, there is a possibility that this child is going to have a problem with his or her dash system, with the nervous system, with a digestive system, with a urinary system, whatever. How much more peaceful our life would be if how many times doctors keep telling us, why didn't you come on time? I wish you had come 1 year earlier. This is where AI comes inside, and we are able to pick up on, especially ischemic hearts. And the application is very widely being done and very fast. This, along with financial markets, financial industry, the health industry is the one that has benefited most. And the gap between the West and us is still there, but it is much less than in any other domain. And that is primarily because we are very fast on adopting this. And Watson, for instance, like since we're talking on the IBM perspective here, Watson is done amazing. The genome sequencing and all of this which has happened is able to come up not only with predictions, but the full cycle, come up with very personalized medication which makes sense to a particular person. Otherwise, you're taking generic medication which has a certain level of effectiveness. Vis-a-vis that, something very personal given my inputs. Okay. Oh yeah. So here is a illustration of cancer prediction. These words are better understood by you, teaching professional. When you go through those white papers and presentations, you will understand. But look at the accuracy level. 91% accuracy level comes up here. So this is precisely where we are today, and it's only a question of proliferation, affordability. It's no longer a matter of education. It's the case for AI is an understated one, but making it affordable, making it practical is where we are grappling with. And that is the journey that I was mentioning that companies themselves are taking. You take telecommunication service provider, most of us will either be Vodafone or Airtel or Reliance. Reliance came up rather recently, but if you take some age-old guys, Airtel, which basically, what is Airtel? It is coming together of various telecom circles across the country, and then Airtel was formed. Each circle came with its own systems, okay, with their own client data in different ways. But today, Airtel has one of the better ways of interacting with its customers. And in a wafer-thin margin business like telecommunications, going beyond voice, Airtel is able to do wonders. And that is only because they are highly assisted by AI in their efforts. Okay, so this is a case of we are discussing the medical imaging as a whole area of application. So starting from skin cancers, melanomas, to atypical or very benign, which I don't have to bother, but malignant, yes. So irrespective of all of these classifications, we have we have much to lose if we delay the adoption of this. So how is this being done? Some of you who would have done a thesis on this would have gone into certain depths that what I'm talking now would be just laughing matter to you. So those of those experts, please excuse, but this is just to point faculty members in India, especially, to start looking at domain expertise, which is no longer a nice to have, but it is a must have in order to be. Though let's not wait for AICT to come up with that, as a requirement. Let us be proactive about it. So we can go on with examples. Lung cancer detection. Okay, how do you, do you really need, or even the endocrine? Sorry, the what do you call that? Those cameras which go, the endoscopy kind of things which happen into your stomachs to look at ulcers or cancers. In all of this, AI comes to the picture, and we need to get our students to be able to first know what's happening in the field and see some lacunae, read up current topics and see where is the need, and start working to see if we have ideas. I'm conducting now for some disadvantaged remote areas, we're conducting a kind of an ideathon, which is now such commonplace. But I'm surprised. I always believed, and it's been proved, that children from rural backgrounds, we think that they are rural, but then the way they are able to come up with a paradigm kind of a shift in their thinking and solving problems that matter, real life world problems that matter, is amazing. Okay, energy and utilities, again, not very much relevant in India because it's not caught up to that extent. But take a country as expansive as Australia or even North America. When you have power lines running from one end to the other, okay, they would run through vegetation, through forests. So how do you even understand what's happening in each of these cases? Visual inspections are done. People in routine, they will roster it, and then they will go and drive through sections, or as you see in this, as suggested in this picture, you may even do it in an aerial survey. All of this is fine, but if we can unleash a drone to be able to do these things, it will be far better. How would you really find out what is happening in a windmill situation and wind farms? I remember driving down to Shobha ma'am's campus in JNTU Anantapur. And I actually stopped by while coming in and while going back just to admire the wind farms. So this has now become commonplace in India. And if you even know the cost of erection of one of these windmills, the amount of money, but see what happens or what could happen with wear and tear over a period of time. What are the risks involved with this? Apart from outage and drop in production of electricity, what actually happens is there are safety issues in it. And so, how do we manage each of that? How do we understand what is knowing first of all, and then solutions are easily available. From radiations, from various environmental pollution situations, corrosion if it's on the seafront, all of these abnormalities to be understood both from the outside and from the inside with the whole gamut of IoT sensors. And those which are flying around on drones. So wind power prediction with machine learning. I'm sure we know about the weather company and what they're trying to do today. All of the airlines the world over are connected to a particular weather company, which gives them an information. And that is why they are able to say, sorry, our flight is being delayed by another 1 hour because of a bad weather in the destination place. Okay, so they're able to predict that well in advance. And so nowadays, you don't have to go to the airport to be told. You will even know 1 week before if you have booked a honeymoon or a vacation kind of ticketing. They are able to tell you well in advance that there's a probable change of timings to this because of upcoming weather conditions. So the ability to predict this in the short near term and in the slightly longer term has its own applications when we look at it from travel and transportation point of view, and from the energy generation point of view. Let me say, for example, we are able to detect that there is going to be a flooding in a certain place. If that early detection is happening, then a rerouting or something else can kick into position, so that we minimize the inconvenience and the outages, power outages of a community which may be living in a remote place, or a hurricane's path, or a tornado which is about to hit a place. What would that system, the weather system and the energy systems, if they can combine together, they could remotely control these things and at least turn off the powers, very predictively, and in a way which will ultimately result in less loss of life, damage and loss to life and to property. Okay, air traffic management. We are left with 10 minutes more to complete by 12:30. So I'll have to possibly skim through these things. In air traffic management, I had it a little earlier, but this is more to do so not air traffic, but AI and traffic management on the road. When you look at these, already you must have heard of companies in India like CMS, who are into traffic light synchronization. If you take a long road which cuts the city, and we call it arterial roads, an arterial road that almost cuts the city into two halves, there must be some 20, 30, or maybe 40, depending on the length of your, what do you call that, traffic signals along that road. Good examples are in the case of Vizag. When you try to get into the airport, you have to go through that. Here in Chennai the same way. Or if you go to the central station, again, you have to go through. Now, how are these synchronized? There were old technologies which did it in the manual methods and semi-automated methods. In places like Sydney, they would actually, in Sydney Harbour, they would, for the full peak hours of travel, office hours, there would be a helicopter. Imagine burning fuel and hovering on top of from there, and they're giving visual stuff to tell people what to do. I've actually seen this. I was surprised. Why is that helicopter standing there so long? And then someone told me, no, that is traffic management. I said, why? Today, if I go there, I'm sure I will not find helicopters, but we'll find drones which are doing it, or very powerful cameras which are doing it from the distance. So drivers are being assisted in more ways than one here. So there are a lot of proof of concepts, which many of them, General Motors, Shanghai Motors, conducting for the vehicles to be, this is exactly what Reddy Garu had mentioned in his inaugural note, where the car will not intrude on you, because you ultimately have the override facility, unless it is like, crossed a threshold. Then in order to prevent an accident, that earlier animation that I showed you, if the car decides to actually stop you because to avert an accident, if the probability is above so much and the threshold can be set, then boom, it just veers you away from the spot and stops the car without getting into a telescopic jam from cars coming from behind. So this is the advanced driver assistance system in autonomous driving, which is basically on the streaming data processing in real time, and at the edge, decisions being taken. Okay, again, for traffic management, understanding the flows, where the jams are, and processing that in a city environment at a particular way. Now, for example, if you have a IT corridor, the Gachibowlis of the world, or the OMRs of, in the case of Chennai, these are all the IT corridors. So what happens, and what is the traffic management pattern there? Or if there is a CBD equivalent, or a Pondi Bazaar in Chennai, which is the crowd puller at a particular time of the day and the week and the month or whatever, how does what patterns have been processed so that the traffic can be autonomously managed or manually managed, but with this assistance that is being given to them. Okay. We talked about smarter city. I don't know how much of that has really, we can read reviews and, feel good about it, or not, feel not so good about it. But, today, very dangerous situations could be happening. In this case, the author is drawing our attention to dangerous goods, and what could happen if there is a vehicular, accident on the road, or spillages, or vapor coming out. How could that affect? How do we manage that? How do we take action on it? And how do we sort of not quarantine, but at least prevent it from going at certain times, and so on and so forth. Oil and natural gas. Again, we are a country who understand this a little more. We have offshoring as well, and we have our own wells. But how this would actually take place. The maintenance, the safety is our precautions, consumes a whole lot of time, energy, and money. That has dramatically been reduced by physical inspection, like in the case of electrical transmission, I told you. The same 10 times more here. I'll show you this tabulation. I really wouldn't be able to go through, but let's get into, look at this image here. Routine inspection, what it can do when it is done by a machine rather than by a human, and then applying it. You can easily spot out what is happening, because these sensors could even be picking up vapors, which a human person, only if he can smell, he'll be able to do it. And if it is hazardous, he may not even be able to go to that. So in the petrochemical belt, these things, this is the kind of modernization that is happening. And there are a few people like Shell who have taken advanced, implementations down this road. In manufacturing, I'm trying to rush through now. I knew I would end up in this situation. Again, the VR kicks inside here to be able to increase your quality of a, let's say, a typical manufacturing environment. Or let's say if it is some food and beverage or medicine, to be able to make sure that a packet of medicines don't go out with a proper seal not being made, because then it is no longer medicine. It actually is a live ticking bomb in terms of what do you call that, a whole lot of infection that is going out to that medicine. How to spot some odd one out and to be able to immediately take action on it, either robotically if installed, or through manual methods. The alert, the principle is the same. Replace or enhance or supplement human inspection with machine inspections, visual, and then take an action on it, either automatedly, like in the case of petrochemicals, or in the or manually through methods which we can physically go and ask a worker in a factory, please wear this kit, please wear this one, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now cognitive. I like the way our MD kept insisting repeatedly towards the latter half of his talk on the cognitive part of when the machine starts thinking and coming up with something. So this, and if you recall the video that I played, IBM's favorite word is think. For those of you who have used a IBM laptop, the word think is nothing new, because the IBM laptops were called think pads. Okay, it's a pad on which you sit down and think. So thinking is so important, and today we call it design thinking and all that, but critical thinking and a whole lot of thinking. So where do our machines come from? They are coming closer and closer to the point where they are able to come right up to that point and say, this is where it is. Take a pilot who's making an error in judgment, either for a takeoff or a landing. We have these autopilots, right? This actually happened to me in a Paramount flight when we were trying to take off. I don't remember this Trivandrum or Cochin. We were going at full speed and full throttle, and all of a sudden there was this terrible braking, and then the guy swerved out of the runway and went off into the grass. I thought, it was going to be a head-on collision and somebody's landing while we were trying to take off. But then it was actually the autopilot which had taken the decision and aborted the takeoff. And then the pilot took over manually and moved it off because there was some engine failure notification that came. Now, there is a good man-machine That's why when Shobha ma'am mentioned in her talk initially that, gone are the days when we discussed will AI, will automation replace human beings? No, it will never. It is not man. IBM's take on this is not man versus machine. It's not a fight. It's man with machine, man and machine. It's a partnership where you do your thing, it does its thing, provided we have trained it properly, and then we put both together, and that's a much better decision that's being taken. Okay. Okay, we'll have to skip. I'm almost at the end of it. So what I'll do is I'm going to this is the last section, agriculture. Maybe I'll just comment on this a little bit, to know about crops today. If anything, India is known for a number of things, but I like the talk that the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh made on his first, speech to the nation on the eve of Independence Day, the first Independence Day after he became the Prime Minister. He said, "I'm proud to be a Prime Minister of a country where if there is any top 10 in the listing, we are there. Top 10 richest, top 10 bright ones, top 10 in this, top 10 in everything. But I would like to remind myself and remind all of you, fellow countrymen, that we are an agrarian nation. India lives in its villages, and we need to go back to our roots." I think that was a call which he didn't have in mind AI when he spoke. But if you were to take that, if I were to force fit that into this context, imagine if we are able to bring in, imaging systems into agriculture here in India, what level we would go to. Already we are good, but that is through manual methods, and the way our farmers are operating today. I know it's a very sensitive topic, so I shall not get into that. And we are also on top of the clock, and therefore let me try to quickly wrap up in one or two charts now. Revolutionizing each industry, making it more customer friendly, getting that customer experience, which in turn produces loyalty and brings in more business, and so I become more competitive. So my competitive advantage is all happening because of the fact that AI is backing up, and the faster I adapt this AI and adopt this AI into every system that makes sense, I would be a more healthy business. And IBM conducts these wonderful studies called the CXO study, and one of the studies which happened some years ago, what are your top 10 concerns, and then or focuses. IT was somewhere in the 8 or 9. But steadily that has moved up every 2 years when this thing has been done. Today it is on top -1. That's where it is reached. And all the CXOs today are IT savvy. Okay, they are AI specialists. They are in a way a kind of a de facto data scientist almost, because it's almost like a necessary life skill, a corporate skill, if you like, if you want to survive. Okay, so how is the future going to look like? We can no longer blame the system saying that we don't have enough compute power. Quantum system is here, and that is the whole message of IBM on quantum assisted AI. Suddenly, we have such brute computing force that we can keep pushing the barriers of genome sequencing, which took what amount of time before, what amount of time does it take today. Imagine a police department trying to use parent signaturing in order to find out a DNA sample. How fast could that happen? So I'm going to skip this data science roles and skills, and I'll stop. This is a whole new section which will take another half an hour, and therefore I'm going to just come out of this and post my last slide, which I could as well say thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be with you and talk to all of you. Look forward to some other occasion that the host college gates would be putting up in future, and we could go into a technical deep dive and do some demos on some of these areas, depending on the feedback and the interest levels that you may have. Thank you very much. Over to you, coordinator.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very, very wonderful and informative session. Practically, it is very, very much interesting because they're all real world examples and explanation. So thank you so much, sir, for delivering a very nice motivational session, sir. And I'm very motivated and I'm very interested to, and also I'm telling my students to listen all these things and they can do a small project on these things, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And I'd like to request A.L. Srinivasalu, sir, to speak on this, sir, for 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir. So thank you, sir, Mr. Lawrence, and thank you for your nice session on this AI here. And definitely it will be helpful for our students to do the project in for external project and as well for many project. And definitely we are going to do the project in all these areas, whatever you have suggested here. And thank you once again for your nice, valuable session, sir. Thank you.
So thank you again, once again, sir, Lawrence, sir. We will be in touch. We will be having more sessions with our students as well as other faculty and other programs also. Thank you, sir, once again. And thank you all participants about the feedback form. We will be posting it in the WhatsApp group so that you can fill the feedback form. So thank you, sir. Once again, Lawrence, sir. Thank you. So tomorrow we will see at the same time, 10:30. Yes, sir. You can leave. And feedback form, we will be posting it in WhatsApp group, sir.